Hi, you're in class with Dr. T.
Hi, today I'd like to discuss strategies for Black mobility in the age of slavery, Black radicals, Black conservatives, and Black reformers. The 19th century presented African Americans with limited options for achieving freedom and social mobility. Constrained by systematic racism and oppressive socioeconomic structures, Blacks had to navigate a world that offered few pathways to genuine liberty and equality. I argue there were three primary strategies employed by Blacks to attain freedom. Radical approaches that reimagined the world, conservative approaches that enabled individual social mobility without altering the oppressive system, and those who fought for incremental changes within the system. Ultimately, those folk who worked within the system, like Frederick Douglass and Thomas Downing, had the most significant impact on civil rights and societal change in the 19th century. However, one of the strategies conducted during this period was what I would call a radical approach. Radical approaches to achieving freedom were optimized by Nat Turner and Denmark Vesey, who sought to completely overthrow the slave system. Nat Turner, born in 1800, led a rebellion in Virginia in 1831, resulting in the deaths of approximately 60 white people. He was captured and executed. Turner's uprising highlighted the extreme measures some were willing to take to reimagine a world free of slavery and oppression. Despite his efforts, the rebellion resulted in harsher reprisals against the Black community, demonstrating the limited effectiveness of such radical approaches in the face of overwhelming odds. Similarly, Denmark Vesey, born around 1767, planned a large slave revolt in Charleston, South Carolina in 1822. Vesey was a skilled carpenter and co-founder of the AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Though his plot was discovered before it could be carried out, and Vesey, along with others, were executed, his efforts underscored a vision for a radical transformation of society. However, Vesey's failure also led to increased repression of slaves and free Blacks in the South. Don't get me wrong, there were cases where revolts were successful, like the case of Haiti, where the slave system was completely overthrown. Still, Black freedom remained limited in the Western world that viewed Black liberty as dangerous. In reality, radical approaches in the case of Haiti found success. After the Haitian Revolution, there was enormous change for the better in Haiti, but because of corrupt elites in a world where the rest of the Americas remained colonized and still practiced slavery, that change remained an ongoing struggle. The rest of the Western world did not like what happened in Haiti and would punish that country. We will discuss this in another video. Stay tuned. Other approaches to achieving liberty were individualistic and also working in the system and engaging in reformist practices. William Ellison and Frederick Douglass exemplified two contrasting approaches to individual social mobility within the constraints of the exploitative system. One was dedicated to building wealth, while the other was dedicated to fighting major reform. William Ellison was born in April 1790. Ellison gained his freedom in 1816 and became a prosperous cotton gin maker and one of the largest Black slaveholders in South Carolina. Ellison married Matilda and they had several children. By the time of his death in December 1861, Ellison owned over 60 slaves and hundreds of acres of land. His assets included a profitable cotton gin business and significant real estate holding. Ellison's economic success came at the expense of perpetuating the slave system, demonstrating a morally complex pursuit of personal gain. His wealth and status did little to alter the oppressive conditions faced by the overwhelming vast majority of the Black population. In contrast, Frederick Douglass was born Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey in February 1818. He escaped slavery in 1838 and dedicated his life to the abolition of slavery and civil rights. He married Anna Mary, a free Black woman, and they had 5 children. After Anna's death, Douglass married Helen Pitts, a white feminist and abolitionist as well. Douglass would die in February of 1895. Unlike Ellison, Douglass accumulated considerable influence and modest wealth, though his speaking engagements, publications, and government appointments did allow him an upper middle class lifestyle. His home in Washington, D.C., Cedar Hill, symbolized his success financially. However, Douglass' life was dedicated to ending slavery and uplifting the Black community and fighting for equal rights. Not to mention, he was a feminist. He highlighted a commitment to social justice over personal economic gain. Another contrasting strategy to approaches of social mobility and quote-unquote freedom was Jeremiah G. Hamilton and Thomas Downing. Born around 1806, Hamilton was a Black broker on Wall Street, something unheard of in the early 19th century in particular. And he was one of the wealthiest Black men in the United States, and certainly in New York City. He married Ellison Jane, a white woman from a working class background. Hamilton's focus on personal wealth and integration into white society came at the cost of racial solidarity and community support. He was known for undercutting fellow Black businessmen. He showed little interest in civil rights struggle. This distancing, both psychological and social, affected his relationships and reputation within both Black and white circles. Conversely, Thomas Downing, born in 1791, was a successful Black businessman in New York City as well. He was known for his upscale oyster house that served a predominantly white clientele. Downing married Rebecca West, and they had children who continued his legacy of community service. The children of Thomas Downing significantly advanced civil rights in the 19th century, particularly his son, George T. Downing, who was born in 1819 and lived to 1903, was notable for his activism. He fought against segregated schools in Rhode Island, helped establish the Colored National Labor Union, and played a crucial role in the passage of a public accommodation law in Washington, D.C. His efforts also included working with prominent politicians to further civil rights. His father, Thomas Downing, also used his wealth and influence to support abolitionist causes, including the Underground Railroad, which was a system that helped harbor runaway slaves. He was actively involved in desegregating New York City streetcars, spurred by a personal incident involving being mistreated on a segregated streetcar. Despite his efforts, Downing had to placate a racist society by not openly serving Blacks in his establishments, which catered to white elites. This compromise underscores the delicate balance he maintained between personal success and community. Activists like Frederick Douglass and Thomas Downing, who were successful as businessmen or activists and generally fought for civil rights, had the most impact. Douglass, through his newspapers like the North Star, advocated for abolition and equality, promoting a more equitable society for all, regardless of race or gender, unheard of in his time. Downing, through his business success and civil rights efforts, made tangible differences in the lives of many African Americans. In conclusion, the 19th century offered limited options for African Americans striving for freedom and social mobility. Figures like Nat Turner and Denmark Vesey sought radical transformation throughout the rebellion, while individuals like William Ellison and Frederick Douglass navigated the exploitative system in vastly different ways. Jeremiah Hamilton's detachment from the Black community contrasts sharply with Thomas Dowling's strategic compromises and civil rights efforts. These historical strategies reflect broader themes of struggle, survival, and resistance, many of which remain relevant today. In contemporary society, similar issues persist. For example, while there are a few Black billionaires and a large Black middle class, the vast majority of African Americans still face significant economic challenges. This raises questions about the responsibility of the Black elite, the Black masses, the Black educated in their role to the community. The strategies and choices made by historical figures continue to inform the discourse on social mobility and community uplift in the ongoing fight for equality and a better life. Thank you. You've been in class with Dr. T.